welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at a stack of research, really a powerful combination of established psychological practice and some brand new data on physical health.
That's right.
And our mission is pretty critical. We want to move beyond just, identifying anxiety and actually arm you with specific practical skills, things that give you real leverage over your mental state.
And that's the crucial distinction. The sources we're using today are really balanced. On one hand, we have these time-tested, evidence-based techniques, specifically CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and mindfulness.
Right, the gold standards.
Exactly. They're proven to target anxiety, depression, even addiction. But then on the other hand, we have this hard, large-scale scientific data that maps the critical interplay between our emotional health, sleep quality, and physical activity.
So our goal for you, the listener, is to basically distill all of this into an actionable toolkit. We want to show you exactly how to use these mental tools and, maybe more surprisingly, demonstrate the huge protective role that physical activity plays in buffering emotional stress.
It's an evidence-based role, which is key.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's unpack this. I think we should start by looking under the hood at the literal engine of anxiety itself.
We have to start with the amygdala. It's this ancient sort of marble-sized structure in the brain. It's responsible for that classic fight-or-flight response.
Our evolutionary alarm system.
That's the one. And maybe the single most important detail from the sources is this. When that chemical alarm cascade is triggered, the whole process is chemically programmed to just dissipate in about 10 minutes.
Wait, 10 minutes?
10 minutes. Unless it's continually re-triggered.
Okay, that sounds fantastic in theory, but I know a lot of people listening who experience panic or chronic worry. Well, it feels like the symptoms last much, much longer.
It does.
So are we talking strictly about that initial physiological chemical window or the mental loop that comes after?
That's a fantastic point. The 10-minute rule is the biological reality of that chemical bath. So if the symptoms feel like they're lasting for hours or even days, it means you are probably inadvertently feeding the fire and keeping that alarm system active.
Okay, so then we have to ask, what is that fuel?
Yeah.
What are the key things that kept anxiety going long past that natural 10-minute window?
The fuel comes in two major and very interconnected forms. The first is what we call negative automatic thoughts. These are usually future-oriented worries about danger or catastrophic possibilities, self-criticism.
Right. And the second?
The second, and this is often more dangerous because it's a physical behavior, is safety behaviors and avoidance.
Ah, the things we do that give us that temporary, almost delicious relief, but actually end up reinforcing the brain's original catastrophic prediction.
Precisely.
I mean, beyond the classic example of constantly checking if the stove is off, what's a common modern safety behavior you see?
Oh, doom scrolling is a perfect example. If you're anxious about world events or, say, a job interview, checking your phone constantly, refreshing the news, rehearsing negative scenarios in your head, those are all safety behaviors.
They give you the illusion of control.
Exactly, an illusion of preparation or control, but ultimately they teach your amygdala that the trigger was genuinely dangerous and that only this ritual you performed saved you, which just makes the anxiety worse next time.
So the goal is to break that cycle, which is where, I assume, the core CBT skill of exposure and desensitization comes in.
Yes.
If we're actively trying to reprogram our ancient survival mechanism, how exactly does that process work?
It works through a concept called habituation. The goal of exposure is not to stop the anxiety from happening. It will spike. The goal is to repeatedly experience the trigger without engaging in safety behaviors until the anxiety just naturally fatigues.
You get bored with it.
As the sources phrase it, yes, until you simply get bored with the feeling. This is undeniable proof to your brain that the trigger isn't actually dangerous.
This sounds really powerful. So if you, the listener, are trying to set up a successful exposure practice, there's a sort of exposure formula that you need to follow. It has 4 specific ingredients. What are those?
Right. To avoid teaching your brain the wrong lesson, the practice has to follow 4 strict rules. First, it has to be prolonged. You must stay in the anxiety-provoking situation long enough for the anxiety to naturally come down.
You can change the difficulty, but not how long you stay.
That's a great way to put it. Second, it has to be repetitive. It's a practice, like strength training. You do it often. Third, and this is a bit counterintuitive, we have to actively focus on the anxiety, not distract ourselves from it.
Okay, why is that third point so important? We're so often taught to distract ourselves from bad feelings.
Because distraction is just temporary relief. Focusing on the anxiety allows you to notice that the catastrophic thing you predicted Well, it isn't actually happening. You're observing the feeling of anxiety, not the source of the fear.
I see. And the fourth ingredient.
Absolutely no safety behaviors are allowed. If you perform a ritual, your brain just registers that the ritual saved you, not that the situation itself was safe. And that completely cancels out the habituation.
That distinction really clarifies why so many attempts at self-help can fail. We often, maybe subconsciously, use a safety behavior that just reinforces the fear.
Okay, let's pivot from these external behavioral skills to some practical, quick mental tools we can use right now. This is about managing the inner landscape, mindfulness and cognitive restructuring.
Mindfulness is truly foundational. It's about recognizing, tolerating, and coping with emotions, so it applies almost universally, whether you're managing anxiety, navigating depression, or dealing with addiction cravings.
What's the goal?
The goal is simple: to notice the thought or feeling and then introduce a deliberate pause. That pause lets you choose a wise response, rather than just reacting to the emotion of the moment.
For someone listening who's short on time and maybe needs an immediate anchor, what are some quick mindfulness exercises for their toolkit? If you're feeling overwhelmed or anxiety is spiking, try the 5 senses exercise. It's very fast and grounding. You just spend a minute or two consciously naming and noticing something you're currently experiencing through each of the 5 senses.
It pulls you out of your head.
Immediately, it pulls your awareness into the present reality. Another fast one is the 3-step mindfulness exercise. That starts by intentionally stepping out of autopilot to bring awareness to what you're currently doing, thinking, and sensing.
This feels particularly relevant for dealing with those constant looping, intrusive thoughts. The research confirms that, 9 out of 10 people experience these unwanted thoughts at some point.
That's right, so we are definitely not alone in that.
So how do we use these skills to create some distance from those internal narratives?
The primary technique here is thought labeling. When a distressing thought comes up, maybe I'm going to fail this or I'm unacceptable, you mentally label it instantly. Just a thought, a story, a prediction.
So you're not arguing with it.
You're not. You're observing it with a gentle curiosity, with detachment, like watching a cloud pass by. That labeling creates mental distance, and it really reduces the immediate emotional punch.
That helps with detachment. But what about the emotional layer? I mean, a lot of people feel profound guilt or shame about the nature of their intrusive thoughts, even if they know they don't reflect reality.
That's where we can move to a deeper practice, sometimes called observer meditation or evoking the observing self. The goal here is to recognize that you are not your thoughts and feelings. You are the deep, constant self, the observer, that simply watches the dynamic, moment-to-moment thoughts and emotions passing through.
It's a fundamental shift in perspective.
It is. It fundamentally changes how you relate to your own internal chatter.
Okay, so let's shift gears from that quiet observation of mindfulness to the more active challenge of the rational mind with cognitive restructuring. I like to call this the scientist approach.
A good name for it. It's about systematically challenging negative automatic thoughts using evidence. The core function is to help us formulate a balanced, rational response by forcing us to answer 2 key questions about our catastrophic thought.
And those questions are?
First, how likely is it, realistically, that this bad thing will actually happen? And second, if it did happen, how bad would it truly be, and how might I cope with that outcome?
This is so critical for interrupting that anxiety snowball. Let's use a simple example. A colleague walks past you in the hall, they don't say hello, and the knee-jerk, anxious interpretation is they must be furious at me.
That's the automatic thought. So instead of accepting it, you have to apply scientific thinking. You become a detective, you ask for alternative hypotheses,
Okay.
you list 3 or 4 plausible explanations. Maybe they were late for a meeting, maybe they were on the phone and just focus on that conversation, or maybe they simply didn't see me. By comparing the evidence, you can logically arrive at a rational response that's supported by facts, not just fear.
So once we've scientifically challenged the thought using the rational brain, how do we get the body, the physical engine on board? This feels like a crucial transition. Let's look at the hard data connecting our emotional state directly to our physical health.
This is where we see the whole concept of holistic management really proven empirically. We have findings from a large cross-sectional study of 3,007 college students. It specifically mapped the relationships between emotional state, well-being, and health behaviors.
And what did it find?
The data confirmed a core negative pathway. High anxiety significantly and negatively predicted subjective well-being, that overall sense of happiness and life satisfaction. And that subjective well-being, in turn, significantly predicted good sleep hygiene.
So, in simple terms, anxiety makes you less happy, and being less happy means you sleep poorly.
That's the chain.
Where does physical activity step in to disrupt that chain?
This is the role of the physical activity moderator. You can think of it like a volume control. PA doesn't stop the anxiety signal from firing, but it turns the signal way down so the anxiety doesn't destroy your overall sense of happiness or your ability to sleep well.
So it's a buffer.
A powerful one. The research showed that physical activity significantly moderated the negative effects of anxiety on well-being, and also the positive effects of well-being on sleep hygiene. It acts as a positive regulator across the entire emotional and physical system.
That is extremely motivating. It turns exercise from, a purely physical goal into a mental health prescription. Based on the source material, what's the specific actionable dosage needed to get this protective buffering effect?
The research suggests aiming for a minimum of 20 minutes of vigorous cardiovascular exercise at least 3 times a week.
20 minutes 3 times a week.
That specific prescription is recommended to increase resistance to debilitating anxiety and strengthen your overall psychological resilience.
That is a very specific and I think very doable target. And while we're on the physical body's foundation, we have to bring diet into the conversation.
Absolutely. The research highlights what's called the brain-gut microbiota system, the BGM system, as a key mechanistic channel linking our nutrition, health, and mental well-being. This isn't a vague connection. Dietary patterns directly alter the composition of your gut microbiota.
Which produces critical neurotransmitters.
Exactly.
So what's the immediate practical takeaway here? I mean, saying eat healthy is a bit too generic.
Yeah.
What specific dietary patterns should we be thinking about to strengthen this BGM link?
The shift is focusing on whole foods, high fiber intake, and fermented foods. Anxiety and depression are significantly affected by dietary factors. The primary goal is feeding the beneficial microbiota in your gut, which provides the raw materials for neurotransmitter production, like serotonin.
So it's about intentionally choosing nutrient-dense foods over ultra-processed foods to support your mood.
And your mood stability, yes. It truly emphasizes that anxiety management needs a robust, multifaceted self-care strategy. It's an integrated system, not a single fix.
Right.
Precisely. We've covered exercise and diet, but the 2 other crucial pillars for anxiety management are just as foundational. First, adequate sleep. Most people need an average of about 7 hours a night. Sleep is absolutely essential for emotional regulation.
And the other pillar?
Social support. When we feel consistently supported and connected by others, it reduces our sense of isolation. It makes us feel naturally safer and more secure in the world.
So I think the overall takeaway for you, the listener, is clear. Managing anxiety is an integrated practice. You have to combine these sophisticated psychological skills, the exposure, the mindfulness, the cognitive restructuring, with maintaining those healthy behavioral patterns.
The targeted physical activity, good sleep, a focused diet.
Right. And progress relies not on perfection, but on persistence and flexibility in trying different techniques.
And that persistence is really the silent ingredient for success. I mean, think of it like learning to play an instrument or a new language. It's going to feel awkward and clunky and exhausting at first.
Sure.
But with repeated, consistent practice, these new ways of doing things become comfortable and then eventually second nature. The long-term goal is to foster these resilient, positive psychological resources that allow you the space for self-reflection and for lasting change.
Here's a thought to carry forward with you. The journey toward coping and resilience. It inherently involves 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We're constantly trying to find that reasonable balance between protection and necessary risk in our lives. We accept the inherent risk of driving, for example, because that acceptance maximizes our freedom and helps us achieve our life goals. When you apply mindfulness and cognitive skills to truly examine that balance, you realize that accepting calculated risks, whether they're social, physical, or professional, is the only way to maximize the freedom and achievement in your own life.